It has to load. So welcome to the weekly Howl, Wife to Wolf's Network's latest show. I'm your host, Colby. I'm here with Josh, Elisa, and Vincent. And tonight we're going to talk about acting, meaning we're going to talk about the experience of acting, just kind of like the process of going through being an actor, your highs, your lows, everything like that. So, our first topic is going to be theater acting versus, or not versus, but compared to on screen acting. And this to me is very, it hits home to me because I grew up when I was a kid doing theater and then I did on screen, and it is very different. But I want to hear I want to hear from Vincent about what you think about this, like what your experiences are.
Yeah, so like you, I grew up doing stage acting. Actually, before that, before I even got into acting, I was a dancer. So I learned early on how you behave on stage. Then it wasn't until like really college when I started doing film acting. And yeah, I'd say like one of the biggest differences is like when you're on stage, you kind of need to be larger than life in some ways. Not like too over the top, unless that's what the character calls for. But the point is like when you're on stage, you need to be able to be seen and heard by the person in the back row. Whereas on camera, you can be a lot more subtle. Like if I'm on stage, if I'm supposed to give someone a side eye or something, I'll be like a like or but if I'm on camera, it could just be a yeah. So it's like you get it you get I guess in film you get I don't know, it's hard to say which one you get more freedom with. I guess you can be a little more reserved, you can hold back a little more on film. And then it's also big difference is that like when you're on stage, you got one shot, so you need everything memorized. But on film, you get take after take after take. Sometimes you'll actually be saying the same thing over and over again because they will want it from a different angle. Like so, so yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you because I think that that is the difference between for me from on stage and on screen or behind the or in front of the camera is that when oh man, when you're on stage, there is that rush. There is that rush of doing a live performance, and it is so. It's just, it's like coke.
Yeah,
It's like
and
having sex.
when you get the audience like feeling you, like and they're giving you energy back, oh, it's the best thing in the world. That said,
God,
it
yeah.
can also be I've been on stage and I've had bad audiences as well, and that is just heartbreaking.
Demoralizing probably.
Ooh.
But when you say like you said you have more freedom with film, or I'm
Yeah.
sorry, more freedom with being on stage, because I feel like on stage you're deadlocked to the script for the most part. You can't really ad lib. Whereas with film, oftentimes directors want you to bring the script to life. So you don't have to be deadlocked to the script. You have to have the overarching concept of what you have to say and hit the key points. But as long as you generally convey the message, you can make it your own, typically,
Yeah.
depending on the director.
I think I feel like I misspoke when I used freedom
Okay.
because I don't know. It's just it's a very different style you got to bring to both of them. And now there are
Cool.
times on stage where you can improvise, especially because actually because on stage if something goes wrong, you can't stop.
Right. And that's the hard part about it.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, film, you can be like, cut, redo it, you know.
Yeah.
And if they miss a paragraph of dialogue, that could fuck up the entire
Exactly.
scene.
Yeah.
And you got to roll
Yeah.
with it.
Oh
Yeah.
no, like I've been like missing dialogue. Actually, that's the most common mistake I've ever seen.
Sure.
And thankfully, not me too much, if ever. But I've done it where, like, the thing I was always taught is that if someone misses a line,
Roll with it.
just keep going.
Right.
Yeah.
But
They'll be like,
but
oh wait, we got to still.
yeah, but I've been in shows with some people where someone forgot to say a line, and so sometimes like either me or someone else will swoop in and like try to salvage the scene.
Right.
But then
Or
the
maybe
person
prompt
will-
them or something. Like be like, what did the bird say?
Yeah, like you give them a prompt, you give them something, but then what they'll do, or sometimes it's just
Yeah.
like it's lost, move on, keep going.
Remember the episode of The Office
Right.
when they're doing Sweeney Todd and somebody's phone is ringing?
Yeah,
And they think somebody else. They're like, I sure wish that bird would stop chirping.
yeah.
Fucking Andy with his phone right here. But I mean,
Yeah.
like, you got to be able to kind of do that a little bit. Whereas
Yeah,
on film, it's not as much of an issue because you can always redo it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
on
like-
film, of course, like it's also just like, oh, you flubbed the line, okay, cut, do it again, like you
Yeah.
were saying. But yeah, when it's like when you're doing a live performance, but that's what I think the beauty of it is
Right.
that like when you're doing that live performance, like you have to hit your mark. You
Well-
have to be like, you have to say your line at the right time. You have to know your lines. And if you fuck up or you don't know your lines, then you have to improv and you have to like feed off like your scene partner,
Sure.
and they have to know and to go where you're going. Because I've had that too, because like I've done sketch comedy where like we forgot our lines, but then it's just like if you forget, you have
Make
to
it work.
improv,
Yeah.
and then they have to come back at you, and then it is very much a back and forth that you have to really, really do. That like meaning like you, it's not in the script. It's not like okay, this isn't rehearsed. We have to. This is an in the moment thing,
Mhm.
which I love about theater, but it's just I don't know.
But
It's
also
just
like
difficult.
to your point, hang on, I just had it. It's really important to have a good dynamic between the characters. Like on film, you might be able to get by with not having a good character dynamic, although it is important. But when it comes to improv and them fucking up the line, the more rapport the characters have, the more vital that's going to be to fix a scene that is just falling out of place. And there's a quote that I heard, and I kind of get them backwards, but it's something along the lines of TV makes you famous, film makes you rich, theater makes you good. And I think that's entirely true. If you can do theater, you can do TV, you can do
Yeah.
film.
Yeah, no, because there's a lot of there's like a lot of TV and film actors who they don't do live stuff.
Because it's hard.
Well, Elisa, what do you think about that? Like you were saying, like yeah, like you really agree with that. What do you think?
No, I feel like a lot of people that do theater can easily transition and do film
Right.
because I think it's like a different type of discipline because like you said, everything is pretty much to that script. So you kind of get more of a solid, straightforward kind of a person, and then it gives them a better ability when they go to film to kind of open themselves up. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
then they know the script like the back of their hand, so it's getting a little more easier for them to, I guess, ad lib and then do this and then do that. And like Hugh Jackman, for example, theater dude. Chadwick Boseman, God bless his soul, theater dude.
Got
Viola
Tony's?
Davis,
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah.
theater. You know what I mean? So it kind of like I don't know. I feel you can high key see the difference. Meanwhile, you got someone on the other side, like I don't like Keanu Reeves. You know what I mean? Which is so it's definitely
He is a sweetheart of a man.
He is.
it's very sweet. But I don't think
great-
he-
He's a great
beautiful
dude.
person.
I
He may
have
be
heard
the
he's a
best
nice
actor,
guy.
but he's a fantastic
Yes, I heard
person.
he's
I would
very
love
sweet,
But
to-
you don't
he's
like
one of
his
those-
style. I got it. That's fair. Okay.
he's like a safe zone actor. So I kind of feel like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whoa,
He,
Keanu.
you know, he just very safe, very, very one-dimensional.
But like what you're
Like,
basically what
yeah.
you're saying though, it's easier to make the transition from theater to film than the other way
Yeah.
around.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think we can all agree on that, really.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd say the
definitely.
memorization is like the big one alone.
Yeah.
Because you'll hear like and like some of the like film sets I've been experienced with is off camera. It's people just reading scripts like right then and there.
Because like you only have to remember 3 lines for the next 5 minutes, and you can brain dump them, provided you get it right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
you gotta like.
The only hard part about film that I've seen is like sometimes they're doing the same scene 8 different times because they're getting different angles. This is a close-up medium. This is the Dutch angle. This is an MOS shot, whatever. And MOS means no dialogue. But anyway, what I'm saying is because they have one camera instead of 2 or 3 or 4 at the same time, you have to do the same scene and remember, oh shit, when I said this line, I did this before. I was looking over here. So in that regard, it sucks. However, you can do it as many times as you want. It just might be
like with just building on top of that, that's actually I noticed this a lot in TV more so than movies, but I always think it's funny because you'll find continuity errors every now and then. Like,
of course.
Yeah,
Like,
like
just
what
for
was it?
continuity on
Like,
set,
no, hold on. What did you say? What was it?
You'll find continuity errors, like
continuity. Oh, sorry.
Like you'll
I thought
see,
you said,
oh, this person's drink is more full or more empty because that or it's like I used to watch a lot of Friends, and there was one time like Joey, he's carrying a bunch of snacks in his arms, but he's talking about they're like cutting back between him and Rachel. Every time they cut back to him, he has like different snacks at the front of his arms. So,
and that's why continuity is so important. But also too, isn't that kind of both like filmed in front of a live studio audience? So in that regard, it's like a play, but at the same time, it's TV, you know,
one
camera shot.
Even if it's filmed in front of a live studio audience,
they can still cut and redo it. Right.
They will still cut and redo it because the live studio audience is just to add the laugh track in.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, when you said that, I honestly thought I thought it was like, I honestly thought it was like the C word you threw in there. The
continuity.
Yes.
But no, that's entirely true. Like, and like, that's why it's important with drinks. Like, but really, like, imagine how many times they had to film that scene in order, or how much they drank of that to really make a noticeable difference. Because if they're just sipping on a highball glass, like, it's pretty hard to tell the difference unless they drink the entire thing, right? So,
yeah.
All right.
Like
all right, Josh, what do you think about I don't know, auditions? I don't
Oh, okay. Yeah. So like, I'm sure we've all had auditions that went really well or auditions that went really terrible. What was your guys' experience with that as far as auditions go? Did any of you guys have any ones that like totally bombed? What about you, Vince? What are you thinking?
So I don't think I ever had one that absolutely bombed, but I have a good story with one. So the first play I did out of college, so community theater, but like professional grade. I was looking at the characters to audition for. One of them was a guy who was actually supposed to be an old man, but I was just like, oh, I could play an old man, right? Like done it before, just some makeup and all that.
Sure.
You don't get to do, like, when you are not in school, you don't, like, they won't even look your way if you are not the right age demographic, like just right away. But the nice thing was so there were 2 other guy parts in this show that I could audition for. So one was the main guy. That, for anyone curious, the show is called I Hate Hamlet. It's a story about a TV actor, and should he take the role of Hamlet in a Shakespeare in the Park rendition? Yeah,
we all don't care, by the way.
Yeah. I
just
know.
Kidding.
But so the main guy, his name is Andrew. So I was originally going for him because he's the main character. He's on stage the entire time, like lots of lines. It would be big. The other character is his best friend, Gary, who's an over-the-top, obnoxious Hollywood type. And I remember, like, I was at callbacks for auditions, and I'm looking around the room, and there's a couple of old guys for the third male role, but then there's only one other dude who's my age demographic. So I knew it was going to come down between me and him for the lead role.
Right.
And yeah, sorry, but just real quick. So we were both reading for the parts. Like, I'm watching what he's doing. He's probably watching what I'm doing. And like in my head, I was thinking just like, okay, I'd say we're pretty even in terms of the main character. But then they had us both read for the other guy, the obnoxious Hollywood type.
They're trying to see your
And that-
range with that.
What?
Were they trying to see your guys' range with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And like, and the unfortunate part was I blew him out of the water
Good.
for that. So on the one hand, I did a really great performance. Like I got a lot of commendation for that. The sad part was I didn't get the lead role because of it.
Well, you know why? So why not? I don't.
So I played the secondary character
Because you did such a good job with that.
because I did such a good job with that. I got the secondary character and not the lead. The other guy got the lead.
I see.
But
Right,
so,
and that's a common thing. So there was one time where I auditioned for, it was like an online, it was like they called it theater. It was basically like an online Zoom play voiceover, and I auditioned for a doctor with a Southern voice. However, they didn't think I could pull up a Southern voice, but they wanted me to play a fast talker from New York. And I was like, I'm not really familiar with the New York accent, but yeah, I can try it. And that very similar, right? So instead I got the other part, which is cool.
Yeah.
But when it, like you were saying, like, as far as like age ranges are important, like I'm 32, I say I can play anything from 25 to 40. You know,
Yeah.
sometimes people, it might only be a 10-year difference. It might be a little bit longer. It all depends on what you can kind of pull off, right? And
Yeah.
maybe somebody's hairline can make them look older. Maybe somebody's body can make them look younger, like in my case. Demographics are important too. Like I feel like if I'm tan, I might be able to pull off Latino. Whereas if I'm not, I'll pull off Caucasian. Obviously, Alyssa could pull off anything from Dominican, Hispanic, Black, you know, a lot more different options, because nobody can look at her and assume what race she is until you hear her speak. So that can work to her advantage, if that makes sense.
yeah, like that ethnically ambiguous is a very popular demographic you can get.
Right. And like
Yeah,
Colby
you know,
can pass
Josh,
for Italian,
Josh,
Jewish, you know, same for you.
Let me tell you something, Josh. Like, you don't need to tell anyone that you talk fast. Good God! Every time I listen to you, I feel like I'm on coke. Oh my God!
Well, and that's why they didn't want me to do the Southern thing. I was like, I think I can pull off Southern really well. No, like, yeah, I'm a fast talker. It's really bad though when I'm like, if I have to deliver a monologue, it's hard for me not to be like, you know. So
Yeah,
I like to
you
be
are.
like, I really
the
gotta
ironic,
pause.
the ironic thing is, aren't you from the South?
I'm from Missouri, not really.
South
South of the Mason-Dixon line,
South-ish.
you know. But I've lived all over. Like I've lived in Texas. I live in Alabama now. I've lived in Tennessee.
Yeah, because I can't pinpoint your accent because like you just talk so fast. I just can't like. I'm just trying to like get it.
Actually, that gives me an idea though. Do you guys ever feel like you're ever typecast as anything?
What do you mean?
So like typecast where you always play this specific type of role.
Yes.
Yeah.
So especially as a Caucasian actor near Atlanta, I find myself getting the cop, the lawyer, the white collar business type role, or I find myself playing something that I've done before. Like I was in law enforcement, so I've done that. Army is a popular one since I'm in the military. Or the crazy ex-husband, whether that's a killer, a crazy boyfriend that's heartbroken over his wife, or excuse me, significant other, whatever. I find myself with those roles a lot. And it's interesting you bring that up because I think Jim Carrey has a quote, or somebody, I can't remember who exactly, it might not be Jim Carrey, but it said like, I don't find roles find me, you know, that's what they say. So roles find you if you're right for them, if that makes sense.
All right. Well, I want to hear from Alyssa. Like I want to hear yeah, because I know you had something to say.
No, definitely. How do you put it this way? Because me personally, if I ever booked a role, it was more so of a supporting role, because I don't know. They told me I give off best friend vibes. Like I just
What
give
vibes?
off,
Wait, hold on a second. Give off.
yeah, like you know what I'm
Friend
saying.
vibe.
Yeah, like I give off supporting character. I give off like, I'm the
okay.
one to pick the main character up or support that main character, or whatever. So a leading role was always hard for me to book. I've always got supporting. So, and it just always seems like, I guess, a comfort thing after a while because I was so used to being in that role.
Sure.
Oh, okay. Really? So
And that's not necessarily a bad thing, you know.
It's
like,
not.
yeah,
It's
but
not. I mean, consistency was nice, but it was like, yo, after a while, you would like, a leading role. Like, why is that
Right.
so bad?
That's how I feel. Like, so most of my acting experience is stage wise, and I usually get supporting cast, not lead role. And like
Yeah.
I totally get it. Just like I want to be the lead one of these
Yeah,
days.
right.
Right. And also, though, I feel
Yeah,
like that's a
yeah.
good way to start, though. Like starting as a supporting is better than starting as a background or an extra, right? But if you
Right.
get the supporting role and you nail it, then maybe there's a lead role similar to the character you just played, and that could lead to more. You know what I mean? So like that's why I think it's important to take almost any opportunity that comes your way, as long as you're available there, and it's going to either pay you, get you good real footage, or you enjoy playing it. Those are the
Yeah,
three
like
criteria.
we all got to start somewhere. I get it.
Right.
Yeah, and I like what yeah, you're right. And I feel like I've been always like, because I'm just like a bigger guy. I've always been like you know wanted as like the tough like Guido dude from New York or New
The
Jersey.
Italian
Like just,
muscle,
yeah. That is kind
the
of
bouncer, the police
But yeah,
officer.
You
but
give me
yeah,
like detective
I
big
feel
boy.
like I could be cast as like a good Viking right now. I'd be all for it.
yeah.
You could be that. You could be Jesus. You could do whatever you want.
Yeah, no, I'd be
You could be or you could even be supporting to Jesus. You could be John, right?
Yeah.
Who knows?
no like yeah like I think
Well, hold
at
on,
least
hold on.
or
What I really want to
real
get to, what I really want to get to is having experiences behind the scenes. What was it like, basically, and also which would you rather prefer, behind the scenes or in front of behind the camera or in front of the camera, basically. So I
Behind-
want to ask you, Alyssa, what do you think?
high key behind the camera. I feel like it's a lot less nerve wracking. It's a
Sure.
lot less like,
Sure.
oh, am I going to get this? Am I going to get that? Or let me try to go for this or go for that. It's you controlling, the narrative. It's you controlling the scene. Everything is literally your perspective. So it's a lot less nerve wracking. It's a lot more creative. Personally, I also, how do I say it? I have again division in my head, so I know what I'm looking for. So it's just nice being on the other end. I guess I should probably put it that way.
You have more of a say, basically.
Like,
Oh,
oh,
okay.
you know what I'm saying? Like, oh shit, let me go here, let me wear this, let me wear that, let me try to get them to like me. And let me try to
Right.
nail this.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
all that's gone. You know what I mean?
Now, are you referring to a specific position behind the scenes, like get the gaffer, the aka the lighting guy, for those that don't know, or like
I've been a script writer. So
Oh.
the way that I portray my characters to be, I've had directors actually tell me, like, listen, if you think this is what your character should sound like or should look like, let me know what you
Right.
saw in your head. So it was very nice. Even was down to like wardrobe. They were like, oh, like, does this character wear this? Do you see them doing that? Like, bring them to life. And I've also been on the other half of a director. So it's like, I want my scene to look like this, or like, I want this, again, I more so did short films to look like that. So a lot of, again, the stress, a lot of the pressure being on the other end is just not there.
Right. And I feel like some directors are better about that than others. Some want you to bring the script to life, some want you to stick to it. One thing that I kind of continually go back to is I tell them, I'm like, hey, look, you're fucking this rabbit. I'm just holding the ears. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what I think. Vince, what about you? Do you have any experience behind the scenes? What was that like? What do you prefer?
Yeah, so I've done a fair amount of sketch comedy, and a lot of that I've been a writer involved. So yeah, like Alyssa says, like it's nice getting to, you see it in your head and you get to write it down and I've done some directing with that as well. And I liked the directing, just like being able to, because like, yeah, when I read a script, I get a vision in my head, whether I'm acting or behind the scenes.
Sure.
So it was nice as a director, like getting to, no, let's, like, this is what I want to see. Like, this is the style I want to do. Now, sometimes I've had frustrations with that, just because like I was doing college sketch comedy, so we're limited by resources. So
Sure.
I can't always make it exactly what I see, and you gotta make compromises here and there.
Right.
But yeah, I think, actually I guess like I still do prefer the acting in a way,
Right.
just because ironically enough, I think the acting is less stressful, because you go there, you're just like, yeah, you gotta get in character and all that, but it's like but what it comes down to is I'm the actor. Tell me what to do and I
Right.
will do it. I don't have to think of what to do.
Well, and I agree. I agree too, because like usually they treat the talent better, number one, but half the time, if I've ever seen a director on set, he's trying to tell the actors what to do. Somebody else is asking about a question about lighting. Somebody else is pushing him on time. He's doing a million different things. And I'm thinking, if that was me, I would have been annoyed 5 minutes ago. Or I'd have been like, hey, just shut the fuck up. I'm trying to tell him something. And half the time they're like, yeah, that lighting's fine. No, we're going to do scene 2B. Okay, Josh, here's what I want you to do. You see what I'm saying? Like their mind's going a million miles a minute.
Yeah,
So
like you
I
have
think
to
it's way
focus
more
on
stressful.
one thing as the actor. And actually there was, so when I was early into doing sketch comedy, one of the best pieces of advice I got in the writer's room was, if you want to be in this sketch, write a character for yourself. And so I've done that a lot. I like, when I've written sketches, I usually think of what is a character I would want to play. And so I write them. So I think that's fun. Is like, because if you choose to do both behind the camera and in front of the camera, sometimes you get even more control over what you see.
And some people will do that at the same time, right? They'll direct and they'll be in the film too, right?
Stanley.
Right. Granted, he has got a small role, it's more like a micro bit, but I mean, yeah, he does do that. But I also feel like
Stanley was just the executive producer. He wasn't a.
Oh, right. But I do feel like a lot of the good directors are actors or can be actors and vice versa.
Yeah,
Like I do feel like a lot of them are multifaceted. Granted, there's some great directors that have never acted before, but a lot of them are able to do both. So.
And then you have instances like John Krasinski, Michael B. Jordan, who starred as actors, and then they're just like, let me try directing. And
Mel Gibson.
A lot of them do that, and I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Keke Palmer did it. Shai Jackson did it.
Ben Affleck.
Latifah.
Yeah.
Well, and there's a lot of directors that even just direct something, or a lot of actors that direct something small, like an episode of The Office. Like I can't remember his name.
Like Mindy Kaling. Mindy Kaling was in the writer's room.
BJ Travinsky or whatever his name is.
John Krasinski. Krasinski?
No.
Steve Carell,
the other dude.
Rainn Wilson.
Not on the show, but there was like, who was the dude that played?
No, the dude that was on the show. He was God, what was his name? He was like the intern.
BJ Novak. BJ Novak was the actor.
BJ Novak.
Yeah, he was one of the creators. Like, I always thought it was ironic that BJ Novak's name was always in the credits for The Office, but I'm just like, this guy sometimes goes entire episodes without talking. Why is he in the credits? And then it's just like, oh, it's because he's like one of the main writers for the show. Makes sense now.
Yeah.
What was that one guy that played what's his name? I can't remember his name. The one that played Heisenberg. He directed
Bryan Cranston.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he's
timeless, right?
Because like other reasons other than The Office, but yeah, he's because I mean he was the straight man, which is funny, like because like what I honestly what I want to get into is like the straight man versus the non-straight man in any kind of comedy, like stage wise, on screen, whatever. But it's just like it's a dynamic that I think has been kind of confused over like the past 50 years when we have like you have social media and everything like that, but like it's a weird thing that like still exists. But I think it is very important, like the straight man versus the non-straight man. I don't know if you know what that means. It doesn't mean it's not sexual. It means
it's like the guy who takes it seriously versus the guy who doesn't.
Right. So Jim in The Office is the straight man. For anyone that knows The Office, Jim is the straight man.
He's the normal character.
Right. Well, he's outside looking in, basically. Yeah. He's outside looking in. Yeah. Like I think
he's doing the classic Jim face.
Right.
To all of Michael's antics and
Or sometimes
Right.
Dwight's. Yeah.
yeah, and Dwight's like overreaction. So yeah.
Right.
But
Anyway,
Yeah, exactly.
if anybody has anything for the good of the group, unless anybody does, I think we're good to wrap this up. Vince?
well, I got one real quick. So before we wrap this up, like each of us, we have our own experiences in the industry, whether stage or film or whatever. So what is something like what's a bit of advice you would give someone? So here, I'll go first with this one. So the best advice I could give is you gotta make yourself memorable. Now, like I've said earlier, I've mostly done supporting roles, or like if it's a musical, I'm in the chorus. So I'm in the background more often than not, unfortunately, but working my way out. Anyway, the point is, so when if I'm in the chorus of a musical, I'm on stage, but no one's looking at me specifically. So I got to do something that makes them look at me and makes them be like, wait a second, did you see what that one dude was doing on stage? Like, that was clever, that was interesting, that was funny, that was whatever. Like, so that's you got to make yourself memorable. And this can take any type of form, but that's the key, I feel. Alyssa, what do you feel?
Embody the character. I would definitely say whatever role you're in, you're going for, or that you're doing, I pretty much would exude it to how am I going to put a piece of myself into this character. So even if I'm playing, I don't know, French lady from 1862, how would I be that French lady in 1862 if I was alive at that time? So if you were to put a little piece of yourself, it gives a little more authenticity to that role. So I would say embody that character.
Yeah, that's good advice. Absolutely. My advice would just be the importance of networking. If I were you, I would not leave that set without having everybody on Instagram, whether that's the gaffer, the boom, the director, the other co-stars, right? You never know what those people are going to go on to do. And I have had almost as many opportunities from good experiences with past actors and or directors than applying to auditions. So the networking is key. Never, ever, ever burn bridges if you can avoid it.
How about you, Colby?
I may have burned bridges, but
if you can avoid it, it's not always avoidable.
Yeah. But I mean, what you were saying is true. It's just, I feel like what it is, like it. The thing is, I know, and this sounds, it's going against artistic, and artistic performance, whatever you want to go. But what casting directors are looking for is a certain look or a certain voice. Or if you go into an audition with a monologue, just a random audition, do something that looks like who you are. I know that sounds against anything that you want to do artistically, but that's what they're looking for. They're looking for, like, you look like this and you do a great this. That is what they are looking for. So what you have to do is you have to do, at least at first, you have to do an audition, like a monologue doesn't matter, theater or stage, theater screen. Just do an audition that fits what you look like. Seriously, that will help you. Definitely. Please do that.
Like, I know a lot of acting is being who you're not, but to a degree, you can usually do a better performance when you just are yourself on stage. I totally feel that.
Sounds good. All right, guys. Unless anybody else has anything, I think we're good to wrap this up. Everybody good?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you to everyone for tuning in today. Remember to like and subscribe to hear more of the conversations that really matter. Shout out to our panel, Vincent, Alyssa, Colby, our producers and the whole Wife to Wolf team. I'm your host, Josh. And remember, whether you laugh or cry, you might as well howl with it. Take care, guys.
Have a good night.
Good night, y'all.
And now for the after credit scenes, as we are still live.
Don't know how to stop live without doing it, without talking to you.